Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Brandon Okita, Vice President of FIA Insurance Services and Secretary Treasurer for the IIBCal Board of Directors. We're excited to have our new IIBCal Associate members from Intogreat Solutions here with us today for the webinar on Globalized to Optimize, an insurance CEO's transformational growth journey. Today, I have the pleasure of moderating an interactive and informative discussion on strategies to navigate the challenges we have all faced or are currently facing right now as insurance business leaders. We'll be joined shortly by our guest, Troy Mansell, who is the CEO of AB Phillips, which is one of Australia's leading insurance brokerages. Troy will be sharing some of his insights on how he has tackled some of these mounting problems, including the rising operational costs, the lack of new talent coming into our industry, and the ever-changing expectations from our clients. But before I bring Troy on, just for some basic housekeeping, for anyone that has any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A button, which is located at the bottom of your Zoom throughout this discussion, and we'll make sure we get to your questions as we have allotted some time for some of that Q&A when we're also going to be joined by Matt Annear from Intogreat Solutions. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce Troy Mansell. As I mentioned earlier, Troy currently works for AB Phillips and joined their team in 2007 and has quickly risen through the ranks to become their CEO in 2009. Troy has concentrated on building the AB Phillips business into a fully integrated insurance, financial services, and risk management firm, using his well-honed skills in developing new channels and a strong local area presence. So Troy, I'd like to welcome you to our discussion, or actually, as you just kind of introduced me, I should actually be saying good day, Troy, as I know it's early morning right now in Australia where you are.
It is indeed, and as I said, Brandon, you got to say it as one word, g'day, not two words, good day. So very good, and welcome everyone. And thanks for the introduction, Brandon. It's great to be here.
Perfect. I'll get it down by the end of this, I promise. So jumping right into it, I mean, can you just tell me a little bit about your brokerage firm, AB Phillips?
Yeah, so I've been the CEO of AB Phillips since 2009. I've got an infographic that maybe we can share with everyone. But yeah, so we're I guess you'd say a medium to large firm in the brokerage area in Australia. I'm not too sure how the US market works, but we're part of a group of other brokers under the AUB group. And there's mainly two groups of businesses. So there's the AUB group and the Steadfast group. We're part of AUB. There's actually not a lot of independent brokers in the Australian market. A lot have been swallowed up by these collectives, these groups. AUB is a listed company. So, and so is Steadfast. So I'll tell you a little bit about our business. So we have transact around 23,000 plus policies, around 105 gross written premium. This is a little out of date. It's probably closer to 110 now. And we service around 14,000 business and personal clients throughout Australia. So that's our business. I'll tell you a little bit about AUB Group as well, because I think it's relevant. So AUB Group, public listed company, they own between 50 and 100% of businesses like ours throughout Australia and New Zealand. So in terms of their size, around 1.6 mil policies under management, 4.4 bill in insurance premium across the network, and around 900,000 clients. So obviously a significant operation. And, I think Steadfast probably almost another 50 to 60% larger than that.
Those are some impressive, staggering numbers. Well, perfect. Well, as I mentioned earlier, you quickly, I know, kind of rose through the ranks at AB Phillips, joining and then within a couple of years becoming the CEO. So now over the last 14 plus years as CEO, can you tell us a little bit more of how you helped grow the brokerage firm?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess, it was a bit of a steep learning curve for me. I actually sold my consulting business, which was consulting in the workers' comp, work and health and safety space, into AB Phillips. And that was kind of my first real venture into general insurance. After 2 years, the old CEO retired, and I took over from him and also bought out some of his equity. So it's been about a 14-year journey. And I must say, I don't know about the US California market, but a lot of people in Australia, they seem to fall into insurance. It's not like it's like an accounting or a legal kind of, you have a degree. It's very much kind of I speak to a lot of people and they just said they fell into the industry, but once they get in there, they really love it. So I guess for us, we've grown mainly through organic growth. We specialize, and I think I'm sure that's probably very similar in the California market. So we specialize in a certain industry, and within that industry, we develop a product, we promote it through different groups, associations, and direct. So that's been a key part of our growth. But another significant part is mergers and acquisitions. So a lot of businesses had, aging principals, partners, and we've managed to successfully do around 10 mergers and acquisitions over my time at AB Phillips. So that combined with strong organic growth has really helped our business grow.
Yeah, I mean, M&A, I think, is definitely picking up, and it has been picking up a lot. And it's funny you made that point earlier about how we all kind of fall into the industry. Me, I can tell you the same thing. Just kind of fell into it. I didn't go to school thinking, oh, I'm going to go into insurance. But again, here we are years later, thankful and grateful that we're in such a great industry. So, and
yeah,
like you said, it's very similar to out here. But great. Now, in your opinion now, I know you mentioned the growth factors, but what has been, in your opinion, maybe just if you had to choose like the main key factor that has driven this growth, what would you have to basically kind of pinpoint to that growth factor?
Look, I think it all comes down to really good people in the business. We've managed to, when I came in, we had some really good senior executives, not just good insurance people, but good developers, really good at looking at, new products to, approach new markets, or even just, where they've actually found they've picked up a number of clients in a certain industry and they get referred on, and then they go, hey, yeah, we've developed a product now. Probably similar to yourself. So just really good people. Obviously, the mergers and acquisitions has definitely helped. And often that can be also picking the right business that has good talent to bring in. But yeah, look, that's definitely for us been the key, is really having, really good, client-facing staff to drive growth, but also to ensure we're doing a really good job for our clients. It'd be good to get a bit of an understanding from yourself, Brandon, too, because I know the US market's a little bit different to Australia. So we have probably more small to medium brokers, where I believe in the US market, a lot of consolidation has happened. Is that right? Or am I missing the mark there a bit?
There's a lot of consolidation, like I mentioned, a lot of M&A. You're absolutely correct, but there are still thousands of smaller, what I would call your smaller independent agencies available. I know you kind of mentioned and kind of hinted and alluded to that you're part of a larger network. There are larger networks that are out there right now in the United States, aggregators that a lot of the agencies are joining and whatnot to kind of partner up for market access and whatnot. But yeah, it sounds very similar to what you have right now in Australia as well.
Yeah. And is there an aging kind of principal kind of market where they're looking at exiting and therefore a lot of opportunity for M&A? Is that
huge issue right now? And I think the lack of talent development coming into our industry right now is playing a big role in that as well. Yeah,
totally agree. So we're in a very similar situation.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You kind of touched on some of these painful parts that are, we are going through. And with that being said, as we know, everything that you had mentioned, it sounds very good, but I know that the success did not come overnight. I know we're seeing more challenges now more than ever. We kind of talked backstage about the hard market we're going through. But again, looking at AB Phillips now, what were some of the challenges that you had faced, especially in terms of how you were dealing with things like staffing or the operational efficiencies?
Yeah, so obviously when you grow quickly, it's hard to keep up in terms of people particularly, and finding good people. And that's probably what led us to really look at offshoring. So we just could not bring in enough people to service the clients as we wanted to service them, providing them with a real broker experience, getting face to face. We were just finding that a lot of our team was run off their feet, doing too much admin, to be honest. Right. We hadn't really structured the processes where we had really strong admin processing teams. We built support around that, but that support just wasn't consistent enough. So I think the offshoring I definitely know the offshoring was definitely a key to us being able to maintain our growth, but also to provide an improved, client experience.
Well, it's good to hear. And again, I think even in myself and our agency, it's good to kind of hear about the offshoring and how beneficial it's been, especially with a large brokerage firm like you. I know you're tackling these challenges head on. By going and saying that offshoring was kind of the best bet that you kind of did right now. So again, if we were to look back past 14 years in charge, would you say that the offshoring was probably the best decision as far as a strategy in terms of what you were looking for, in terms of moving the needle up for AB Phillips?
Look, absolutely. I mean, one of my colleagues in another business, he'd been had an offshore team for a number of years. He's in the accounting space. And it's something I thought, well, if it works for accounting and it's a lot of process and admin, well, why couldn't it work for us? So initially for me, it was, well, offshoring can provide, obviously the staffing is a lot more affordable. So there was a significant saving in staffing. But over time, I realized that the real value in offshoring isn't just that cost arbitrage between the staffing costs. The real value is it means that you can elevate your team onshore to do more client-facing, more technical work. And I think, for me, that's probably been the most significant value that offshoring has absolutely added to our business. And that probably is the key strategic piece we look at now. Anytime we have a challenge in our business, we look at offshoring to not only provide support for our team in Australia, but also to elevate that team.
Got it. No, that's good to know. So I know, again, when you're talking offshoring, just out of curiosity, where exactly is your offshoring staff right now? Just out of curiosity.
So our team's all based in Manila. And just to give you some stats, so we've got around 100 staff at AB Phillips. Of that 100 staff, we'd have around 35 in Manila and the rest obviously onshore in Australia across 4 different locations. So, considering 5-6 years ago, we started with 2 and now we've got 35, it's been a massive, growth for us. And, I think it's also added a lot of value to us as well, not just so much in the roles they can do, but just having that cultural diversity within our business. It's, people really enjoy working with their team in Manila. They're really connected. So it's been a really good experience.
Got it. Well, it's funny. You actually mentioned the culture piece because that was going to be my question in terms of when you're dealing with, obviously a different country, staff that are located, different cultures that you have to kind of adapt to, I guess is maybe the best way to put it. So I guess, how did you do this adaptation in terms of here you are with your brokerage firm in Australia. Now you're dealing with, a different set of employees that are now out in the Philippines. How did you kind of mesh the two cultures together?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. Look, we've got a pretty diverse workforce as it is. I think we're very similar to yourselves, Brandon, in Melbourne. We're a very multicultural society. So, we'd have staff with a significantly varying degree of, kind of cultural backgrounds, anything from your kind of more English, Irish kind of, probably what you think is a bronzed Aussie kind of Australian to, we've got a lot of Indian, people from Pakistan, people from Asian countries, China, Vietnam, all of those things. So it is quite a multicultural team. And I think that diversity is really good. I guess for the team in Manila, and this is probably where Intogreat really helped us, is, obviously bringing on staff. Yes, there are people there, bums on seats to support you, but unless you really connect with those team members, then you're not going to get the full benefit of offshoring. And it's also, you're not going to really get that feeling of having that one team, that connected team, almost like that community that you're trying to create in a workplace. So we probably leaned on the team at Intogreat to really get us to firstly understand the cultural differences, how we can best work together. And I think it works both ways. The team in Manila understanding how Australians are. We can be a little bit off the cuff. We don't mind having a bit of a laugh and having a joke at everyone. But obviously we got to be careful we don't upset anyone. But I think they're slowly getting the understanding of our humour. But also a lot of the way we connected the business was making sure that we had those teams really connected in with our teams onshore. So, processes, workflow, regular meetings, one-on-ones every day. What's your workflow look like? How does that work? So constantly, connecting through video, through phone calls, all of those type of media. And we've also had a number of our staff travel over to Manila. And we've also had a number of our staff in Manila travel to Australia. So I've been over there, I think 4 times now in the last probably 6 years. Obviously COVID, I couldn't go over there, but every other year I've traveled over there to meet with the team and to, have a bit of a laugh, go out. We have an anniversary with Intogreat, so celebrate with Intogreat there. And when I can fit a bit of a holiday to Boracay or something like that as well. So it's always an added bonus. But yeah, it's really just making sure you do everything you can to connect to those teams.
Wow, that's amazing that you guys are, the integration piece where you're even having your staff yourself going over. Talk about making them really feel a part of your team, right? Versus, like you said, just kind of hired staff on the side that's just supporting you. So I think that's really big. Perfect. Yeah, well, again, I think the culture is important, as far as, your own agency, your brokerage. But again, what kind of work have you seen in terms from your client standpoint? Have your clients commented, or have they seen any changes or any sort of, or are they even interacting, I guess, a lot with your offshoring staff?
Really, that's another really good question, Brandon, because initially when we were looking at offshoring, we weren't going to have our staff connect with clients at all. But over time, as we've developed the team, and now that team is a lot more, they're doing a lot more technical work. I'll talk a little bit about the different roles we have, but we've got, I think there's around 7 or 8 types of roles we now have offshore, all the way from our broking to our finance, marketing, IT, everything. So we've really kind of looked at how we can get the most value from, utilizing an offshore team. But I think it's pretty much those key elements.
No, that's, again, I think when I heard about offshoring, I've always thought about, okay, it's, administrative type roles, very, things like you said, to take the admin work off your plate. But again, it's kind of interesting to see that, even it sounds like you're almost promoting internally from your offshore staff now, where they can actually handle some of the more difficult roles as well, in terms of within the brokerage firm, which is really, really incredible to hear. Again, I know when we're dealing with staff that are thousands of miles apart, again, it was very nice to hear about all the integration. But again, going and looking at the keys to your brokerage firm, when we think about the parts of your business that have improved as part of your offshoring, could you basically just kind of retouch on that a little bit more on exactly what they are supporting and how they're bringing you, with these numbers that you kind of mentioned at the beginning?
Yeah.
How can we attribute that to the offshoring?
Yeah, look, absolutely. So I guess since we started offshoring, we've probably seen almost probably 150% increase in 250% increase in revenue and profit over that period. So we've had some and that's a lot of that's M&A, organic growth, just a number of different things. So what we've had to do is really elevate our team offshore to fill a lot of the gaps we had within our business. So focusing purely on the broking side. So initially we brought our team in to do like processing, admin type work. I know it's probably similar to you, Brandon. When we deal with insurers, we've got all these legacy systems, a lot of manual processing. They've all got different systems we got to go onto. We've got some commonality, but yeah.
You can come out in California. It sounds like you already got the hold of the California agency on how we work, exactly.
Yeah, so it's a lot of manual process-driven activity. So obviously we thought, well, we put a lot of time and effort into creating processes and workflow to then one way, same way type processing within the team. And then that's how we then, obviously with the processes and the detailed workflow, that's how then we worked with our team in Manila. So that was the first stage. So, and that was actually a really good journey as well, because it actually made us a better business. We had consistency, which obviously, means that you're going to do it more efficiently because you're always looking at the best way, same way, best way. And we also then created a lot of kind of we're a lot more, probably the word is less exposed to PI risks, probably is the best way to put it, because everyone's doing things the same way. So I'm sure, again, same with yourselves, one process, really good structures, try to reduce errors, mistakes, which then could, down the track become a real PI issue. So we did spend a lot of time and effort focusing on those processes and that workflow, and Intogreat were incredibly helpful in developing that for us. They've got a team of people under, Jenna, who just did an amazing job. We document it. We'd video it, they'd document it, come back to us, then we'd work with each other to refine it. And now we've got this full knowledge management system that has every process from start to finish. So that's been a really, really good part of the journey. But that only filled a small gap in terms of, well, it was a pretty big gap actually, but it only filled one gap in terms of, it is a big gap. So what we then moved to is going, well, how about some broking support? So when there's a lot of manual working with insurers, following up clients, sending out certificates of currency, all of those kind of things. So really got the next level was, okay, processing, then now kind of supporting the brokers or supporting the broker support to help them do their job so they could be more client facing. So as you can see, every step of the way, we're getting our team onshore to be able to focus more on the client and be more technical. The result is now they manage significantly larger portfolios, and they're doing the stuff that the reality is we want them to do, and they're paid at the high salaries to do. Right. It frustrated me when we had account managers paying them, 100,000 plus in salary, and they're doing processing.
Administrative work, right?
Exactly right. So we basically don't have that anymore. Everyone's got this really well supported team in the brokers. So the key client manager, we call it the account manager, can do that key client facing work and a bit of new business. Well, a lot of new business if possible. That's always good. We've also got the broker support that can support them, technical, pretty much run their book for them, and they can then just go out and do the client-facing work when needed. And then under them, we've got our offshore team that provides that full processing admin and even some of the manual technical broking on the smaller policies as well.
Wow, that sounds like you've got the procedures down. And I know you called it a PR nightmare. What we call it here when there's an error, we call this a big E&O mistake you don't want to get into. So by all means, definitely, that's not something we want to do. So again, kind of doing things procedurally, having that kind of repeat itself over and over again, that's definitely important, especially, out here in California. We don't want to get stuck with an E&O claim over something that was not known or was not done properly because maybe it wasn't known from a process standpoint.
Yeah, or wasn't documented, or an error was made. So yeah, it's our excess is pretty high. I don't know about how that looks in California, but yeah, every claim is significant cost in terms of the excess. So we try to avoid them if possible.
Oh, absolutely. Trust me. We are seeing that hard market right now as we speak. So everything is going up.
Yeah, indeed, including our premiums.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, great. You've talked a lot about the offshoring, so many great benefits, even just as, right now in terms of, I mentioned earlier, right now, the thing that we're going through is we're seeing a lot of, veteran agents that are now starting to age out, like you mentioned, the legacy agency owners that are kind of maybe looking into retirement in the next few years. I know there's stats that are out there that are saying we're basically going to be losing like 2/3 or more of our work staff due to retirement in the next few years. Yeah. So again, I think what you had kind of brought up as far as offshoring now, being able to help, kind of give you that back office support where you can kind of train internally and have these procedures in place. It's definitely going to help as far as bringing in that new talent into the industry. But like you said, you covered a lot in terms of what your offshoring does for you. What would you have to tell an agency owner right now as far as what the greatest benefit would be? If you had to pick just one benefit on what you saw as far as the biggest benefit in offshoring, what would that be?
Look, I think it would definitely be, and I think I touched on the point earlier, it's really elevated our team onshore to be a lot more client facing, to take all of that admin, take away that activity that isn't really overly productive for them to do, and have our offshore team do it. We've actually applied this in our finance team. So I think you saw in the infographic, we transact a lot of policies, and I'm sure there's a lot of brokers out there that are listening that do as well. So we have a pretty big finance team. So we now have 2 staff onshore and 4 staff offshore in our finance team, and it works amazingly. Our CFO is constantly saying how much she loves her team offshore. She was actually over there just a few weeks ago doing some training to elevate them into, doing all the management accounts so she can then be a lot more strategic. So again, it's just that elevating our team in Australia to be a lot more strategic, client facing, can focus on new business and really support the business in terms of growth and create that improved client experience. That's absolutely the number one.
Perfect. Well, great. Well, again, I appreciate all of that. I know that, based on your experiences, is there anything else that you wanted to share for any of our, leaders that are members that are on this, and we're going to get to a Q&A. So I'm sure they'll have more questions, but if you had to give just one, any nugget that you wanted to kind of leave behind for those listeners right now, in terms of those that are seeking some of the things that you mentioned that were issues that you had kind of gone through in AB Phillips and has basically now kind of solved, through different types of operations, whether it's offshoring or whatever it may be. But, for anyone that is kind of facing these challenges, is there something that, I guess maybe words of wisdom is the best way to put it on, that you would give them?
I think there's probably 2 things. Firstly, start off small and easy. Start off with your most basic processes, and the ones that are probably causing you more headaches in terms of volume. Start off with that first, because you don't want to bite off too much. And it is a bit of a process to get offshoring working in the business, but with support of Intogreat, it can happen really quickly. So we started off with some domestic, requoting, invoicing, those type of things, because that was volume and that kind of low hanging fruit. So definitely that's number one. And secondly, every time I have, or as a business, we see we have a challenge, like a resourcing challenge or anything like that, I always look to offshoring as a solution. I'll give you a good example. So we've always had a bit of a challenge with claims. So we obviously manage claims on behalf of our clients, working with insurers. I don't know about your experience, Brandon, but we find that we spend so much time chasing up insurers on, where a claim's at, or getting claim numbers and all those kind of things, particularly if there's a bit of a, and understand too, when there's a, significant event, obviously, people are wanting to, get repairs or make safe kind of actions happening quickly. So when we wanted to be more proactive than reactive with claims, so we wanted to look at, increasing our resourcing. I was amazed how much admin was involved in that whole claims process. So obviously we've engaged with Intogreat, we've hired a couple of staff, we've really reviewed how we process different claims. Our offshore team now process 95% of our motor claims, which is significant.
Wow.
And we're actually more proactive in those claims. So we're letting the client know where it's at rather than them following us up all the time. So I think the point there is, whenever you see a challenge in your business, look at offshoring a solution, because you'd be surprised how well it can work within your business. Very skilled, motivated people, the more opportunity to give them, they just seem to, flourish. So yeah, it's been a really fun journey in that sense, in terms of elevating our team from, really just thinking process and admin to, technical work, to, client work, following up clients in claims, following up insurers with claims, all of those kind of things. So yeah.
You're giving me new ideas now to do within my own agency. I never even had thought about. So you're actually having then your offshoring in contact with your claims adjusters at your carriers and whatnot, and basically bypassing your onshore staffing then.
Yeah, I actually joke with them saying, well, because we've got a number of our insurers that have, teams in Manila. So they're probably speaking to someone, in the building next door or something like that anyway. So they may as well be there.
Wow, no kidding. Oh my goodness. And I know this is probably a concern and it may come up. I'm hoping I'm not jumping. I see that we have some Q&A, but just maybe for my own personal, experience, or I guess my lack of experience, I guess more concerns. I know you mentioned actually you were having some of your financial and accounting done offshore. I could, as you can tell, we're very, 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 we don't like to deal with our resource, putting our financial resources and our information out there. Do you mind just touching a little bit more on how much or how open you're allowing your offshore staff to handle some of the finances?
Yeah, no, look, absolutely. No, very, very happy to. So obviously with any environment, there's always risks of, cyber risks. There's risks of, people, trying to, take information, that kind of stuff. The way I look at it is, I don't consider my team in Manila versus my team in Australia. I don't think of them any differently. All right. So, they're our people.
Right.
So I could have the similar risks of someone onshore as offshore. What we need to do as a business is we need to protect ourselves from, any type of, risks, financial risks. So in terms of payments, so our offshore team, they'll put all the payments together, submitted to the bank. We'll then review those payments and then authorize them to go ahead. So, and there's multiple minimum 2 authorizations required. So again, I have every faith in our team offshore as I do in our team onshore, and we just put other things in place to make sure that, we have those protections. Also, we work on our own kind of IT environment, which they connect into. So we've obviously got firewalls and other types of protection stuff that's over my head, but yes.
Me too, believe me, all the IT stuff, I'm like, okay. But no, exactly. I appreciate you because I know, like I said, some of our members, they may have some doubts about, we're sending this really, really, valuable or confidential information, we're sending it to a staff that's overseas. But I think which is good for our members to kind of hear on, how comfortable. I like the way that you mentioned that they're just really an extent, they are part of our team, right? There's not like it's a third party service, they are our team. They can almost be viewed as maybe like your 5th location, I guess, right?
Exactly right.
So
look,
no,
we had the same concerns, Brandon, when we were looking at offshoring as well. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't have those concerns, but once you get into the rhythm of what it is to have a multi, diverse kind of team in different countries, then it's just hire good people, work with a good partner, have good securities like you would in your business, in California.
I was just saying that's doing our own job, right? Making sure we have the risk management procedures in place
exactly right.
to prevent any of those losses. So exactly. Well, perfect. Well, again, I appreciate it, Troy. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, giving our members some of these insights, and even me, myself, answering some of my own personal questions. And I jumped the gun on the Q&A, but again, it's good to hear these insights, these inspirations for, maybe they can work on their growth strategies for this coming year. And so again, what I'm going to do, we're going to turn now over to our Q&A session. I assume there's probably been some questions now based on, some of your answers that you gave. And then joining us for this Q&A session, we're going to have the General Manager of Commercial Partnerships at Intogreat Solutions, Matt Annear, join us. Matt is a 20-year experienced veteran in the creating partnerships across sectors, including insurance, financial services, recruitment, and education. And he is dedicated to nurturing relationships that drive growth and operational efficiencies. So again, we'll open it up to Q&A. And again, feel free to ask Matt and Troy questions. And Matt, I'll turn this over to you.
Thanks, Brandon, and good to see you again, Troy. We do have some questions in the Q&A already, which is great, so thank you for those coming through. Troy, the first one we have is from a company that have previously tried offshoring. So the question is, we've had a poor offshoring experience previously, but now we're seeing other brokers go down this path. What advice can you give us to achieve a better outcome this time?
Again, that's a great question. And, I've had other people talk to me about, well, I've tried it before, it hasn't worked. So, once bitten, twice shy is a bit of a proverb that they say. Look, I think the key is, well, first you need the right partner, the right partner that's going to work with you to make offshoring successful. So you just can't hire a team and think that they can work like they would onshore. particularly if you don't have really robust processes and workflow. You need to be strong in that space. So put the time into it. That's why I said start on the low-hanging fruit. Don't try to bite off too much. Start off on the easy, simple stuff and build from there. So I think that's number one. And I think number two, once you've got that right partner, you've got the processes and structures in place, really invest in your team. Make them part of your organization. As I said, I don't see my team in Manila any differently from my team onshore. You know, I really enjoy spending time with them. I enjoy investing time into their own development and growth, and, you know, giving them opportunities to, you know, have really strong career paths. So really investing in the teams is important.
Yeah, really great to hear. And I think we hear this all the time, companies coming in from a growth perspective, and it's one of the first questions. We've tried it before and it hasn't quite worked. It's really good to hear that feedback for brokers in California as well. Our second question we have here today around culture and around change management. So we're concerned about how staff will view offshoring and their own job security. How did you approach that change management process with your own team when you started the offshoring journey?
Yeah, again, really relevant, because obviously you've got a team in Australia and you are actually taking some of that activity off those, or a team in California will be taking some of that activity off that team. Obviously, we started slow, but the main message I was getting across to our guys in Australia is that by taking this activity away, we want to elevate your role. We want you to do more technical, more client-facing, or whatever work that's going to be meaningful for you moving forward. And we've actually achieved that. And we've actually now achieved that for our offshore team. So we've recently introduced some automation in our business, which means that a lot of those processes I talked about, we have automation bots doing some of that activity. Obviously, our offshore team were concerned about that. But what we said was, no, here's an opportunity for you to elevate. We're not about making people redundant. I mean, we're growing, we're improving. So, you know, obviously there's natural attrition in a business. We might not replace that role because we'll want to look offshore. But yeah, it's really, the message for us was, this is an opportunity for you to elevate in the business and grow and have a stronger career path. And you know what? To put it bluntly, to get paid more. If you're doing a more elevated role, you'll get paid more. So we're happy to, you know, kind of, you know, support that.
That should get all our listeners' attention right there.
I think that messaging is key, and it's really important that, you know, that change management process is managed really well. And I think from what we've seen, you know, that's something that the team at AB Phillips have done really, really well. The next question we have from the Q&A is from looks like a business who are looking to dip their toes in the water. This client's looking to consider offshoring, and they're asking what would the very first step to be for you to, you know, before they decide to get started? What considerations they need to think about before they even make a call to someone like Intogreat?
Yeah, so I think the first thing you need to do is look internally, like, how do you operate? Are you the type of broker where if you want something done, you go and take a bit of paper next to the person next to you and go, oh, can you do this process for me? All right. And then it comes back and all those kind of things. So if you need to probably be willing to look at kind of building out your processes and your workflows that they can work with a remote team. So I'll give you an example. Sorry, I should have turned that off, shouldn't I? So yeah, it's a lot of times we probably see businesses that they don't have strong workflow in their organization. And we've supported, I can't say how many, I don't know, Matt, it's probably 10, 20 different businesses in Australia on this journey. And I always say, start off with the low-hanging fruit, invest in systems and processes that you know can work with a remote workforce, and build from there. Just a quick anecdote, like we went through a pretty significant lockdown. I think the guys in California, you had a reasonable lockdown compared to the rest of America, is that right?
We're all kind of pretty consistent across the country, but yeah, we were definitely locked down for a good while.
Yeah, and you probably have a lot of people now that from that go, well, working from home makes sense.
My agency where I'm at right now, we actually are all remote still. since
Exactly.
COVID. So
Yeah. So if you can work remote in kind of California, right? Because you can't walk next to the person and say, can you process this? Can you do that? Well, there's no reason why that person can't be in Manila or anywhere in the world. So yeah, so my advice is make sure you got the right processes and workflow in place. And again, start off small.
Right. It's amazing how COVID changed our view on how we can work and where we can work. I remember, prior to COVID, you were working from home one day a week was uncommon, and it was it was very difficult to prove. But it's amazing how it's changed across the world since then. Last question we have from the Q&A is really around your competitive advantage, and really interested to understand how offshoring has enhanced your competitive advantage. And actually, how you've actually leapfrogged above other competitors in the market as well.
Yeah, so offshoring's definitely made us provide a better client experience. So we just haven't replaced an onshore role for an offshore role. We've actually invested in more roles. So one of the challenges we had, we just couldn't have enough staff to, go to market on every risk every year. We do that now. We will actually get 3-4 quotes for every policy, every risk, and take that to market. We just won't roll over. So we're actually doing a better job for our clients. So that's absolutely number one. I think in terms of growth, obviously we've freed up a lot of our client-facing staff. They can actually spend more time on business development, working their networks, working association partners, those kind of things. So that's absolutely been another key point versus our competitors. If they've still got a lot of their team doing processing work, well, how can they have the time to invest in focusing on new business? And within our group, we'd be in the top 10% of organic growth within the Austbrokers network. So obviously we do that well, and being a sizable broker. I think the other thing too, our profitability's improved. So we can continually invest in other activities like new business activities. So we put a lot of time into some direct marketing, into campaigns, supporting different associations. So because we have offshored, that has improved our profitability. We've actually reinvested in that growth journey as well. So that's definitely helped.
I think what really resonates with me there is obviously the improved service offering. I think, being in a service business myself, and we all understand that growth comes from exceptional service, whether it's within our existing clients or whether it's in our referral networks. So it's really great to to see from your perspective that be able to elevate that service offering has obviously helped the business grow as well. All right, so that's the end of the Q&A session. It's been certainly an inspiring journey we've seen, Troy, and you've been able to share today. And at Intogreat, we've been really honoured to be a part of this journey over the last 4 to 5 years, and we're really excited about where this goes over the next 4 to 5 years as well with AB Phillips. Brandon, I'll hand back to you for some closing remarks.
Yeah, or actually, I wanted to ask Matt, did you want to share a little bit more on Intogreat Solutions? Thank you for the questions to all of our members that submitted.
Yeah, I mean, with at Intogreat, obviously, it's a really, for us, it's been really, we're really excited about our growth in the US market. We see a lot of synergies between our offerings in Australia, New Zealand, and across the other parts of the world as well. And hearing things today around what Troy and Brandon have been talking about, it really shows there are really strong synergies around the way that the Aussies do things in the insurance broker space, and also the way that the Californians do things. So for us, we're really excited to be growing in that market. Look forward to seeing a lot of you in my travels over to California in the coming months as well at the various IIBCal events, and to talk more around how Intogreat can support your business's growth.
Perfect. Well, good. Well, thank you. Again, I just wanted to thank Troy. First of all, thank you for sharing your, with us, your firsthand positive, offshoring experiences. Again, to me, this is new news to me, so I learned a lot out of it too in our conversation. And then Matt, again, thank you again for sharing, the great services that partnering with a company like Intogreat Solutions could bring to our IIBCal members. Matt kind of alluded to it. He will also be present at our Los Angeles IA Day, as well as the IIBCal, our Blue Ribbon Conference in Hawaii. So if you have any questions or wanted to sit down with Matt, he will be at those events. So please feel free to go up to him and ask away. Again, I'll give you the solution, your website for the latest updates and events to Intogreat Solutions. You can find them on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And you can also check out their website at intogreatsolutions.com for more information. And again, IIBCal, we're proud to provide, all of this informative content like we just brought today to all of our members and really help support our agencies. And if you need any more information on any of the other benefits that we can offer to our members, please visit us at iiabcal.org. And with that, I thank you both for joining us, and thank you for everybody else for participating. This concludes our webinar.
Thanks, Brandon. Thanks, everyone.